Barbra Streisand's marriage has always been in the news, but as it has officially gone beyond into 0-5, strange. Her marriage has changed into the truly unknown. Behind closed said the pair does odd things late at night behind closed doors, odd patterns, night rituals, and tendencies that only you have ever seen. And as the years go by, what happens behind their closed doors can surprise you more than you might be more surprised by doors than whatever you can think of. Their love story didn't start in a fantastic environment. It began in a living room that was full of people you don't know, quiet music, and the sound of dinner plates clattering off dishes for dinner. Barbra in 1996's try and stepped into a dinner gathering for Ash wasn't sure if she wanted to go on a blind date. She was 54 years old. James Brolin was 56 years old. Both had lived long lives and loved dearly, lost severely, and learned how to preserve their hearts. Neither of them thought they would get anything. That night was unique. Barbra got there, softly, and felt herself assured and sevenish almost right away. Instead of going into the room with the grown-ups, she quietly went down the stairs and joined the kids who were playing there. She stayed with them because it was safe. She could laugh and cover up her nerves without anyone seeing. Only when Samin told everyone to sit down, Forsh finally came upstairs after dinner. She froze when she saw James, shed hot of a tough mountain man with a long, wavy hair and a full beard. The man at the table didn't look like anything like that. He had a perfect buzz cut and no beard. It was so different from what she expected that the first thing she said was a joke. She walked behind him, stroked his head, and asked who screwed up his hair. Later, she chuckled at how unexpected she can be, but at the moment, she was just being herself. James felt a spark at that moment. He would later admit that her honesty hit him harder than any beauty or charm ever cowled. At that point, he thought this woman revealed the truth from the start, and he felt a strong pull to her. Barbra didn't fall as swiftly as Ash did, but she accomplished it in a few days, understood that she couldn't stop thinking about him. She expressed what moved her. What she liked most about him was neither his beauty or his popularity. It was the calm way he helped her. How he made her feel protected without even trying. Their relationship progressed slowly, but rapidly. At the end of the year, they were already strolling on red carpets together. First at the opening of the James wrote Mirror Has Two Faces in 1996, stood proudly next to her, and later at 69th Academy Awards, where they came out as a couple for the first time in front of thousands of lights cameras. And only 2 years later they had an odd and unexpected start, would find themselves entering into a wedding that would change everything they believed they knew what love was. They got married on July 1st, 1998 at Barbra's Malibu house backyard, with seaside air, lovely light, and folks who had loved them through all their separate parts. Famous people were scattered among the guests, includes John and Tom Hanks Travolta, but the air felt quite from a show with famous people. It felt warm, private, and based on something deep. The wedding itself showed what this point in her life. Barbra had become alive. She didn't need a spotlight anymore to show anything. She had spent years letting the world hear her voice. And on this day, she decided to utilize it for something much more personal. During the event, she sung 2 love songs just for him. There was no space between the performer and the audience and the crowd. It was a moment of pure present just for him, full with feeling. People would later report that it was one of the most loving things they had ever seen her do. Their vows were full of weight of their pasts and the prospect of her future. Barbra at some moments heard the belief that had led her through every kind of connection. She said, "Listen carefully," she said, put it in her own intelligent words. To be a successful actor, I think you need to be a nice person, you need to pay attention. To be a decent spouse, you have to listen and hear the other person, agree to disagree. What she said were simple, but they were full of knowledge. A woman who has lived, learned, and healed. Not shortly after they got married, James had a moment that showed how drastically his life had changed. He got his star on the Barbra, and the Hollywood Walk of Fame stood next to him, shining with the sort of modest pride that only comes from being real. Working together, their marriage did not make either of them smaller. Instead, it picked them both up. The whole thing told a story that didn't need big displays. They had chosen home above show, closeness over attention, honesty over the cacophony of becoming famous. Their marriage seemed not at all like the typical Hollywood dream. It was softer. It was more true. It belonged to them. But before Barbara walked away from James and entrusted her heart to a long and complicated path of love and heartbreak, a road that changed every word she would sing to him one day, long Barbara's life changed. When James came around, Streisand had already been through a lifetime of love stories that the world watched unfold in the news and pictures. Her journey started with her first marriage to Elliot Gould, a union that went on from 1963 to 1971. It started when she was young and full of hope and growing quickly, and it ended with fame stretched their lives in different directions. After that, she walked into a lot of romantic relationships with actors, famous people, artists, and well-known people. Some relationships were very strong for a moment, others slowly faded away. They were all public, and they all departed, marks on her heart. Over the years, the world fell in love with Barbara, but being famous also made her careful. She found out that paying attention didn't help love. Success did not mean that people would be loyal. Even the most passionate affairs did not promise happiness for a long time. In the end, she looked at her own life and accepted it, that a long-lasting marriage might not be possible enough for her. She turned into comfortable parenting her child and taking care of her Malibu home and putting all her focus into her job. She discovered she found comfort in being alone and stopped expecting anything else. When she got there, met James, she felt at home in this freedom. She would later say that she was no longer interested in the idea of getting married again. But for some reason, something about him got past her. My name is in her 2023 memoir Barbara. She told her how bizarre it felt strange to let someone in so soon. James did not follow her customary rhythm, but he didn't appear scared of her popularity or her past. He didn't get smaller when she was around. His calm energy made her feel safe, instead of feeling overwhelmed. And that feeling of stability drew her closer than hot. Her past, on the other hand, met hesitations. She had been harmed before, people had criticized her in public and in private. She had learned how to carry herself with strength because she had to. All of this made her less likely to trust and less likely to commit. James said Later had to ask more than once before she said yes. The partnerships that came before had made her into a person who took good care of her heart. Getting together James at a time when she was strong and being able to take care of oneself altered everything. He didn't come into her life to save her, but as someone who had respect for the women she had changed. They became close in that area where freedom meets real relationship. Barbara had James discovered the painful truth about love, brought his own problems, and the ghosts of his past were waiting to stir in ways of his history were waiting to move in ways neither of them could see it coming. Before James Brolin had lived before meeting Barbara through his own tangle of love and heartbreak. He had two wives. First, from 1966 to 1984, he was married to Jane Cameron Agg, 1984. Then from 1986 until Jan Smithers in 1995. These marriages made him who he is, left him with 3 kids, 2 boys and 1 girl. If their relationship had both good and bad times, each taught him something about what love may offer and what it can take away. He was married for the second time when it ended, got to the point that he no longer believed in his own heart. Later, he says he got divorced in 1995 and he opted to be with Barbara after meeting her in 1996, not having sex for around 3 years. He said that he hadn't had any wanting to get involved in a bad situation. It wasn't only for him about staying away from romance. It was about fixing himself. He needed some room, time, and distance to get over their regrets that had built up over the years. This is why that blind date when Barbara offered a date both of them almost called off. Their dubbed originated from the same place. Too many past too many wounds and too many promises that had too scared to start over. Shattered Apertagon, only to see it fall apart. Not one of them wanted to go into another maelstrom of feelings. But fate has a way of pulling people toward what they want there, attempting to stay away from. In 2023, looking back on what they had been through, James wrote to Barbara, "I want to marry you, was the best thing I've ever done. I asked you 3 times, he said, gently told her that she wasn't sure about this thought. His determination came from a new type of hope that he hadn't felt in a long time. James also talked honestly about how he does things their wedding today. He said, "I do. I think counseling is a good idea. If you have an issue with your marriage, talk it over with a referee. It will dispel by the end of the session. Fort doesn't think therapy is bad. It's living. It's respect. It is working together." He also talked about something that shows the calm balance between them. When Barbara is either focused on her work or lost in it, he takes a step back. He said, when she's busy, she really pays attention. If I come to her with something significant and she's, "I don't have time right now," she doesn't have the time. End of story. It isn't not accepted. That's just who she is, and he knows her beat. James went in Barbara's life is full of scars and caution, and a heart that had learned how to be careful. She came into his life with her own history of pain. They all made something that neither of them expected. But even with their emotional baggage out in the open, what they made together would becoming more private and less common, and stranger than either of them had ever thought. Barbra Streisand and James Brolin's life in Malibu was incredibly strange. Fame made the edges less sharp, had carved into them and made a universe where they might just be. When they got together, they didn't make the typical Hollywood pair that scams or does everything perfectly at home for the globe. They made instead something more private and peaceful. A blended family that evolved spontaneously. As their kids from their prior marriages found in the same house. It become a home where everyone got along in their own manner. Their everyday routine wasn't at all like the shiny picture most people think. In interviews, the 10 talked of a life founded on being close. They stayed up late at night, conversing, working, and dreaming. They were companions who moved around each other going in comfortable silence, occasionally a horse without saying anything since the just being there was enough. Barbara Ansa said, "We go to bed very late. We have a different plan. We love the quiet of the night." It sounded easy, but for them, it was a holy aspect of their link. James made a joke about the thing that better represented their bond than anything else. He said their best investment over the years was the armatress. His exact words had both humor and love. "We love to sleep late. We do a lot of our work next to each other. Each other." It showed a picture of two people who never felt like they had to run away to different corners. They read next to each other. They worked next to each other, together. They lived in the quiet companionship that many couples spend years trying to learn. When tension did appear, they had their own way of handling it. James said, "You learn to take a walk, both of us, not just me." He explained that stepping away for a moment could ease more strain than arguing ever could. It was a simple trick, but it kept their peace intact. Their unusual routines sometimes made outsiders wonder what went on behind those Malibu gates. People often imagined eccentric habits or secretive traditions because the couple kept their world so private. Their home life was wrapped in quiet, their schedules odd, their partnership steady in a way that almost felt old-fashioned. And while rumors floated through magazines about bizarre habits or extravagant private spaces, nothing confirmed those stories. What was real was far simpler. They valued comfort, privacy, and the kind of companionship that did not need an audience. Still, in the shadows of privilege and privacy, whispers began to stir. Whispers some would frame as hints of dysfunction, cracks beneath the comfort that would soon demand uncomfortable truths. Over the years, rumors about their private life have circulated widely. Some tabloids have suggested tension in their marriage, claiming that long years together could lead to disagreements. Others have speculated that their blended family might be a source of conflict, pointing to differences in parenting styles or clashing schedules. Despite these whispers, neither Barbara nor James has given weight to these claims in public statements. Speculation has also surrounded their private habits. Rumors have suggested that the couple lives extremely separately within the same household, with some claiming they rarely interact outside work or public events. The blended family has also attracted gossip. Some have suggested tension between Barbara's son and James' children or difficulties in integrating households. Yet, interviews with their stepson, Josh Brolin, credit Barbara for her care and guidance, including helping him achieve sobriety and calling her straightforward and compassionate. Such accounts challenge reports of family turmoil, showing that their private life comprises mutual support and respect. Their strong justice arrived during the COVID shutdown from 2020 to 2021. Many couples struggled with the forced intimacy, but for Barbra and James, the opposite happened. Suddenly, they were together with no work excursions, no travel, and no noise from Hollywood. That kind of stillness can show fissures or make roots stronger. For them, it made everything stronger. James said that being locked together every day really helped them fall in love during this time off time. He went on to say that a lot of marriages didn't make it through the lockdown, but they did grow nearer. Those months made a sort of a closeness they had never felt before. A greater understanding of little routines, mornings together, and quiet nights. And even if others were saying things like some enemies hovered around them, there were no confirmed reports of collapse or crisis. Their lives were not very exciting story. It was a grown-up partnership that was shaped by respect, freedom, and communication, not flashy or crazy. Just what people who choose peace instead of performance. Barbra Streisand as of 2005 and James Brolin still had a good solid, steady relationship that has continued for almost 30 years. Their marriage, which is now more than 27 years old, defined by calm love and sharing rituals instead of public drama. Barbra shared a throwback in July 2005 picture on social media to mark their anniversary, writing, "We met on a blind 29 years ago tonight, and today is the 27th anniversary of our marriage. I love you. Hey, honey." This simple but genuine gesture demonstrates that they still care for genuinely love each other and sustain their link live through little things that matter. Even though they are famous and under a lot of public scrutiny, the pair has built a way of life focused on being comfortable and close. Family is a big part of their life. Barbra and James don't have the love their children together. Nevertheless, a mixed family with kids and grandchildren from past marriages. Their family life is still warm and close-knit, a place where the pair puts love, stability, and personal connection is more important than fame. Their social life has gotten bigger, more picky in recent years. Barbra still works creatively and puts out things like her 2025 duets album. The couple mostly stays out of the turmoil of Hollywood premieres or other raucous events. Barbra is said to like the comfort of residence, which has a secluded area for relaxation and interests, which lets them keep the peace and privacy away from the light. James has also slowed down a little, living a peaceful existence that goes along with their home center at every day. Even if things are quieter now, the pair stays linked to the world in methods that work for them. Being in public are restricted, but important, and are often connected for family gatherings or personal and divorce instead of regular celebrity responsibilities to be. Their friendship seems to come from common beliefs, respect for one another, and the simple pleasure of being together. In short, Barbra and James are doing quite well in a life of peace, comfort, and lasting love. Their current status shows a grown-up relationship that respects privacy, calm company, and the warmth of family. In a world that is often fascinated with have found happiness in the show. In the quiet, invisible routines of everyday lives, showing that love can exist in a calm, steady, and attractive way behind closed doors. What do you think about how Barbra and James have built a life together that is so quiet but strong? Please leave your opinions in the comments below.